question, doesn't it?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar tonight. We're going to be talking about how to register your business in Utah. And we have Tadha. She's going to introduce herself and tell a little bit about her business and what she does. And then she's going to take us through how to register your business in Utah. So if you have any questions, she'll have questions throughout, and she'll let us ask questions throughout the presentation. And if you have any other questions, we can reach out to Tadha, and she'll be able to answer it for us. So I will turn it over to Tadha.
Thank you, Cerila. Feel free to just add those questions in the chat. My name is Tadha Athone. I'm an enrolled Kiowa citizen and also an attorney. I'm licensed in Colorado, the Navajo Nation, Tonto Apache, and soon to be Tohono O'odham. And I'm really honored to be here today. Thank you for having me. I'm also an entrepreneur and a business owner. And so my experience as a business owner and as running a nonprofit and starting two has really taught me a lot about how to help others start and form their businesses at a legal level. And so today we're going to walk through what it looks like to start your business in Utah. So I'm going to try in some sense to take you through a mock business. We will be putting in some mock information into the system. And we're going to start off literally walking from the very beginning. If you were to pull us up on a computer and just sort of start in your own home and filing your business. So I'm literally going to start over at Google and take you through those steps. I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for being here with us today. And so you'll have to see me log in. By the way, I was checking out Superman while I was waiting. If you haven't seen him, he's a really cool native artist, hip hop artist. So if you're going to start filing your business, you're probably going to be looking for in Utah, not probably going to be looking for in Utah, the Secretary of State, which is where you start filing in some states. So we're going to pull up in Google. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because what I wanted to demonstrate when I first came in here to try to find Utah was that there were a few other things that popped up at the beginning. So there was this Utah Secretary of State. And if you clicked on this, you would take you to something that would ask you to pay money in order to start filing, but it wouldn't actually be the official Secretary of State for Utah. And so when you start going into sites like this, you always want to find the site that has the .gov at the end of the website, as opposed to something that says a .com, because while it looks official, it says Secretary of State's, it's not official. It's some other charge fee for service site. So you're going to come to one of these, and we're going to start here just to sort of take you if you were going to start. This says search by name, but once you're at the utah.gov Secretary of State website, this division, there's a top button that says services. And then you could either also, if you just came in through here, utah.gov, could find this online services. So there are a lot of different things you can do on this website, but what we want to do is talk about business services today. So once you click onto business services, you're going to come in and it'll say annual business renewal. This is what you're going to do after you have your business filed. Every year, you're going to file paperwork to ensure that you stay current. There's business registration information and business change. So we're going to check on this one. Now this says business renewal, but when you scroll down, it says here, my business isn't currently registered. Now, what's really nice about Utah, as opposed to some other states, is Utah actually takes you through some questions and answers through their website that allow you to really ascertain where you are within your business and whether or not you're actually filing the proper entity. So once you come in here, Utah also has this really nice thing called this OneStop Shop. So what it will do is, as it mentions here, is that it'll register you with the Tax Commission, the Department of Commerce, and the Workforce Division. So this is really essential in all states. If you are registering a business, you also are going to end up paying taxes on your business. And if you're selling goods, then you're gonna start paying those types of taxes as well. Also, if you are hiring employees, you'll be also paying those types of taxes, like unemployment insurance and that sort of stuff. So in Utah, once you register with one, you actually start to register with others. So it makes it really easy for the state of Utah. So I took the liberty of going in and starting an account earlier so that we didn't have to see me try to sign up for the account. So you would come in here, create a new account, hit continue. Once you're in here, oops, sorry. It's not letting me grab this. Once in here, you would either create account down at the bottom, or for me, I'm just going to go ahead and sign in with the account I created earlier to do this. Awesome. And they also have this two-step code. We don't have this in Arizona, but they have it here where it's going to now email me that code. It's a nice double security feature. Yeah. Just going to pull this down now so we can see. Okay, so once you're in and you have your account started, you're going to get here to your dashboard. So once you get in for your business, you want to add a new business. So we're going to say we are registering a new business here. If you had businesses, they would be popping up in your dashboard to see. They're frequently asked questions. So if you don't have your questions asked today on the webinar and you have something, there's a frequently asked, you can come here. There's also contact service representatives. They'll generally answer basic questions. They will not give you any legal advice. And also, by the way, what I should be telling you is that I'm here only for your educational purposes today. I am not here to give you any legal advice regarding anything. As far as formation, all we are doing is learning the steps and the process that Utah will require you to do in order to file your own business. I would recommend that everyone speak to a lawyer in the process of forming a business, because there are a lot of things that we'll see in the process that you want to make sure you get correct, because it's easier to get it correct at the beginning than to try to clean up later something that should have been asked. So once you start the begin registration, it's going to say I'm registering a new business in Utah. Now, I'm assuming most of you are registering a new business in Utah. You're not in the process of doing something like, as they're asking, an acquisition, a merger, or changing an entity type, for instance, going from an LLC to a C Corp, a corporation. So I'm going to take us through the I'm registering a new business in Utah today. Now, if you were doing any of these other things, we would click down here. But since we're not, we're going to go through the basics of new businesses. Now, notice it just says businesses. It hasn't asked us to choose an entity yet. We'll get to that later. So, excuse me. As you can see where I was saying, it takes us through a set of questions. So what it's going to ask is yes, no questions. We're going to probably answer no to all of these. I'd asked Cerila and Karen, for instance, to be a guinea pig for me as far as our business. So today we're going to be registering the Dream Builder Surfers LLC. And so Cerila, if you maybe just want to answer these questions about this business. Do you want to add to an additional business locating into an existing Utah business?
No.
Awesome. And are you trying to register a real estate investment trust?
No.
Are you trying to register a business trust or a business estate?
No.
Great. Are you trying to register an Indian tribal government enterprise?
No.
Are you trying to register a government entity?
No.
Great. Are you trying to hold or register a special event that is a one-time event, or an event that runs for 6 months or less where sales occur?
No.
No. Great. Do you have annual household or domestic employees that you file annual household employment taxes for? This would be
No.
like cleaning ladies, nannies.
I wish.
Right. I'm with you on that too. Do you file Form 944, employers' annual federal tax returns with an Internal Revenue Service?
No.
No.
What is Form 944?
That is a withholding. I'm trying to think. right now of what it's where you're withholding employment like FICA taxes, 941s and 944. So if you have employees and you are withholding their taxes for them, like withholding the portion of taxes that they would have to pay in for their taxes, then that's what the 944 is. So you file a 941 quarterly and a 944 annually to disclose to the IRS how much money you withheld, and then you send in those payments actually to the IRS. So if you have employees, that would apply. So as the employer, you're filing the 944. I'm assuming we're not doing that. We're not going to talk about having employees right now within this business currently, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And are we trying to register a nonprofit
No.
corporation? Awesome. Do you need a cigarette or tobacco license?
No.
Great. Will your business need a mineral production withholding license? We're going to do no mining, a lot of mining that goes on in Nevada. Will your business process or handle radioactive waste?
No.
Great. Good. None of that brownfield cleanup. Does your business brew, wholesale, manufacture, import beer that will be sold?
No.
Great. Are you a cable operator or a multi-channel video audio service provider?
No.
Great. Are you required to pay insurance, premium tax on premiums you get from direct Utah businesses?
No.
And has the Labor Commission authorized you to provide your own workers' compensation coverage?
No.
Are you subject to oil and gas conservation fees or severance taxes?
No.
Do you need a fuel tax license?
No.
Okay. And are you registering as a sole proprietor?
No.
Awesome. Are you trying to register a limited liability, limited partnership?
That's not an LLC, right? So that's just limited liability, limited partnership. So that would be a no.
Yeah. Yeah. This limited liability, limited partnerships are really when you're creating partnerships, and LLCs are the best of both worlds. So it's the best of the partnership world, but also the best of the corporation world, where you can deduct expenses and things like that and limit your liability to everybody, not just to a limited partner. So when you have a limited partnership, you still have one member who's a general partner, and that general partner is still exposed to liability. So this limited liability, limited partnership actually helps to shield that then general partner to become a limited partner. But yeah, we're not doing that. So, and are you trying to register general partnership?
No.
And does this business own or operate residential rental properties?
No.
And will your business sell fuel for use in locomotive engines?
No.
Great. Now, if we had answered yes to some of these, I'm assuming like the severance tax and stuff, a lot of these questions, just so you all know, are coming up because it's this one-stop shop. So if you were registering in Arizona or Nevada, we would not normally be asked those questions. But because you are being able to register with the Secretary of State and the Department of Revenue on the Utah side, they're asking about all these other tax licenses that you might need in order to conduct those types of businesses. And then third-party designee, is there somebody else that you want to be able to access business information, to receive information, and also be able to potentially contact the Secretary of State on behalf of the business?
Not at this time, so it'll be no.
Okay, great. So we're just gonna click on. So to begin the process, it's asking us, of course, that we have the business entity type and we know what we're going to form today. It sounded as though you might have had something in mind that we're going to form today. Cerila, do you know what sort of entity type you want to form today?
Yes, we're going to do a limited liability company, an LLC.
Great. Awesome. And then it sounded as though you had a proposed name for your business.
Yes.
That was the Dream Builder Surfers LLC.
Yes.
Date the new business is going to start in Utah. We're going to assume that's today.
Yes.
And date of first payroll in Utah. If you are going to be the sole member in your LLC, you might not be doing a payroll. Do you plan on doing payroll?
I don't have any money, so that's gonna be a no.
Okay, good to know.
Right?
Right. Thank you. Oh, could you turn the light on, please? Thank you. Great. And then we'll have these phone numbers, addresses as far as for the business. What's interesting is here they ask you for that federal EIN. Normally you would not want to get the EIN until you made sure that your business name is correct. So we'll probably go through that whole process. The business location, brief description of the business activity. We're going to always choose any legal purpose. That makes it broad and open for people, because that way you can do anything within your business, not be limited to some sort of type of business. I think last week, if you attended, you remember us hearing about the pivot and how what you might be selling or the service you might be providing will change over time as the market shifts, or you find what does sell and what doesn't sell within your business. Name and telephone number, and then of course, how are you going to pay? There's always a filing fee, and I'm fairly sure you all are getting that covered as a benefit of this program. Congratulations. And then the certificate of good standing. So you would want this if, for instance, you were registered in Arizona and looking to start doing business in the state of Utah, you would go through this process, or vice versa. You're in Utah and want to come do business in Arizona, you would want to get your certificate of good standing from Utah and bring it over into Arizona to show. So here, as it mentions, this federal employer identification number, this is something that you're going to access. And as they're saying, you can't do this through their website, but in order to do the one-stop business, we need to obtain this number. So I might just plop in a number while we're going through this, but we're not actually going to pay or file anything. But this EIN is a number that you'll obtain from the IRS website. You go to irs.gov, you plop an EIN into the search box. It's going to pop up the apply for an EIN. You can actually only do it Monday through Friday. And I'm fairly sure it's like 7 a.m. until like 8 o'clock at night or something like that. It's really only during working hours. And that's because it is a secure website. And so there are certain hours at which point you can access that. So if you're trying to do this late on a Friday night and you haven't done this EIN, you're going to need to wait until Monday morning to get the EIN. So here we go. We're going to click in and continue. Oh, let's see, to register your business. Said that our pre-registration questions were incomplete. Did I miss a question there? I don't think we did. Oh, for the new business you're registering, do we already have an EIN number? We're gonna say yes.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
Yeah, because I don't want. We're just gonna say yes and put in one of our EIN numbers in order to move through the process, because pretty much what it's saying, if we said no right here and you didn't have that EIN, we'll say no and see what happens. But in order for us to move forward tonight, we're going to have to come back and say yes. It sounds like for the new businesses you're registering, do you already have a sales and use tax? We definitely don't have that.
Oh.
For the new businesses you're registering, do you already have an employer withholding account? No. For the new businesses you're registering, prior to beginning this registration, did you already file your articles of incorporation, articles of organization, partnership, or business name registration with the Utah Department of Commerce Division of Corporations and Commercial Code? And by selecting yes on this question, you will not be able to register your business name again with the Division of Corporations. So we're going to say no with that because we don't have any of those other things registered someplace else. For the new business you're registering, do you already have an unemployment insurance employer identification account? No. And for the new business you're registering, do you already have a streamlined sales tax number? No. And will the new business you're registering be involved in any of the following motor vehicles, dealerships, or sales? I'm going to assume, even though we're in surfing, the Dream Builder surfing, we're not crushing vehicles or doing any of that body shop work. No. Okay. So we're going to say no here, but I think it's going to kick us back when we do this and say, no, we need to go get that EIN number. is this information correct? Hold on. Oh, okay, there we go. Maybe it's not going to make us do that. Okay, declare the business entity. Here we go. This is where we're going to confirm that we're not a general business. We are going to start an LLC. And as you can see, we could have chosen general partnerships, sole proprietors, limited partnerships, limited liability companies. Girls, everyone can see you. And we're going to say that we are just a domestic business, not a domestic professional. So in Utah, that could be realtors, that could be doctors, lawyers. I'm not sure exactly on Utah's as far as those professionals, what would be required under their licensing agencies within the state of Utah, but that's generally who you're looking at. And then the foreign, again, would be if you were an Arizona business trying to register to do business in the state of Utah, then you would select that you're a foreign LLC coming in. But we're gonna, for now, be domestic, meaning we are, first coming to being in the state of Utah. Birth is there. And then from there, you go out as foreign companies into other territories, but otherwise, this is your home state. So when it asks about this member managed, we discussed this last week. A member is an owner within the LLC. So I'm not sure how many owners we might have within this Dream Builder Surfers. But if we as the owners are going to be managing the day-to-day affairs of the company, then we're going to select the member managed LLC. However, if we're balling and making a big time and able to already bring in somebody as an employee and hire them to be the manager to run the day-to-day affairs of the LLC, then we would select this manager managed LLC. So which one are we doing? Are we balling it or are we running it ourselves?
We're
Cerila?
gonna run it ourselves.
Okay, so we are going to be a member managed LLC, running it with the day-to-day affairs ourselves. And we will file with the IRS. I'm assuming now, add a question, are we running as a one member LLC or are we running essentially as a multi-member LLC?
A single member LLC right now, because I want all the money.
Okay, good to know. Now, for this, we're gonna do an individual, single member individual. So where they're asking here, what they're really asking is, are you either a person, like a real person, that's where they're saying individual, versus a partnership would be like, for instance, Cerila and Tadha partnership are creating another company. And so a partnership can own property, be a member and an LLC, as could a corporation. Say we had Cerila Inc. That was starting a subsidiary company and it was going to be the sole member in the LLC, then you could select that as being a corporation rather than an individual. But we're going to have Cerila be the individual single member manager. Now, if you had multiple members in your LLC, you would be really selecting a partnership that you're filing with the IRS. It comes in under Schedule K if you have multi-members LLCs. Otherwise, when you just have a single member LLC, it files on a different file work with your accountant and in a different form that you get when you're just a single member LLC. And that's, again, all reporting income up to the IRS. So just so you understand how that's working out. So if you wish to have a single member manager LLC, you will need to select the single member manager option. Otherwise, you will have to list two individuals' business entities. We've done that, I believe. Awesome. Okay, so is this information correct? You've got a limited liability company, domesticated in Utah, one member managed LLC. We've got the single member manager and individual is the single member. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, name of the business. I'm gonna come in here. We're gonna put the name in, which is And then you want to do LLC, or do you want to do limited liability company? How do you want that to look? Because you're going to have a distinguishing of some sort, whether LLC or limited liability company.
Yeah, let's do LLC.
Okay. And do you want to be grammatically correct and throw a comma in there, or just leave it as LLC, Dream Builder Surfers LLC?
We don't need a comma. You're gonna be
Awesome. So now we're going to perform search. Oh, the business suffix, sorry. It's going to make me throw it down here. That. Oh, see, here.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay, there we go. We chose the business suffix. So limited company, limited liability, limited company C, LLC. Okay, there we go. So we did do that. Awesome. And it's available. Woo!
All right.
Also, just FYI, you really do want to do this before you get the EIN number. In that sense, and the reason at least get to this part, the stage in it, is to make sure. You can also go online. Back, let me see if I can pull this up. Back here at the Utah Business Search, what we could have done is started here and surfers with an S, right? Surfer. So,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry. What just happened? So the reason you want to do this is I have seen people go in and get an EIN, and then literally that name is not available, but they already have an EIN number in it. So it makes it a little bit more complicated. They have to go back and get a new EIN, or you have to ask to apply to change your name under that EIN that you already applied for. So you can start here, search in the business search, make sure that this name appears to be available, and then get that EIN to go with the process. Now we're going to come back here. Okay, yay, it's available. So we're going to request this business name. Awesome. Oh yeah. I forgot that it does this through this process. Okay. $22 is what we would be paying here. Hopefully it's going to add all our fees up at the end and not make us pay. It might make us pay right now to get through the next process to reserve the name. But let's see if we can bypass this without doing it and just pay for it all at once. May not. That's why we would have been really good if we'd had the guinea pig. We might just have to reserve a name.
Okay. So Tadha, I mean, after we do so we know this one is available.
Mm-hmm.
What actually comes after this? Is it just really like put it in the mailing address?
It is. It just starts to be that much. Yeah. Put in the mailing address, list in the members, and answer the questions regarding the statutory agent. Who's going to be the agent and what is their address, and then putting that information in. It's literally that simple, but I did forget that throughout the, and excuse me, my nose is about to run. Throughout the process, it keeps making you pay along the way to like get through the process rather than just saying, hey, because in Arizona, this is all at once. It never makes you reserve a name, business name reservation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you do that. You just file.
So I have another question for you. The statutory agent,
Mhm.
can you be the statutory agent? So can I be the member and the statutory agent as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely, you can. In Utah, you can't do that in Nevada. You have to hire a statutory agent, I'm fairly sure, in Nevada, which is why you'll see throughout this next week that every state is slightly different in this process. But in Utah, you can be your own statutory agent.
Okay, okay.
So, Karen, do you want me to just put in carry through with the process? What do you want to do here?
I think, I mean, the next piece, you already finished it, so I think it, just like you said, it's just gonna start asking the next set of basic questions. You just went through all the hard stuff. The other one is gonna be, where are you located? Just very general questions. So I think we're good.
Okay, well, let's go back just to make sure in our, because it has that. That checklist. Let's see if we can get out of here. No, I like how it's.
Yeah, try to use your back arrow.
Hmm?
I'll say.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's a great idea. Right? Oh, did it make us log out? No, what happened there? I do want to send this form again. Yeah. Can click through it. No. Might not let us back out. Guess you gotta, right?
Oh,
Be prepared when you start with all the
Can you go where it
information.
says,
You're
we're
gonna
on
back out.
over to the right where it says edit profile or dashboard, maybe?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if I go back to dashboard, it should take us. So here we are back at our dashboard. This is where you would have seen at the beginning. And now we've got this, so we can come back in and view it.
Oh, there it is.
So name of the business, that's the next thing we would have been in. Describe the business and its activities. This is where you would have selected, and if not selected in Arizona, it's a drop down. But here you would have either typed in or selected any legal business. And again, the reason that people put in any legal business is that allows you to pivot within your business. Rather than, for instance, if you put in, I'm going to sell ices and ice cream, just want to start an ice cream shop. Well, if you get in and you call your name, I don't know, what's the scoop? And halfway through, you end up being like, you know what? I actually really want to start a newspaper. I've got such a good name. I should start a local community newspaper. What's the scoop for the business? Well, if you've already described your business as being an ice cream shop, and what you do is you sell ice cream, then trying to go into selling a newspaper isn't actually going to work, because you're going to need to either come back and modify your description of your business and its activities, or you're going to have to start a different business because you've limited yourself to, this is the business I do. It's almost like the NAICS codes with contracting. The more NAICS codes you can fall under with your businesses, the more opportunity you have with your government contracting to access different grants or contract opportunities. So this would be any legal business. And then the business address is literally, where is the business address? You cannot use post office boxes for this. And this is, I don't know about Utah's availability. I know Nevada, it's a little bit more private. You have to pay $20 to get this information, but either way, consider this public information. So providing the business address, where are the business records being kept? Are they being kept in your living room, in your like kitchen table, in which case your home address, or they do have an office and someplace where those records are actually on file and being kept, stored. So for instance, you can't be having a business in Utah, but storing all the records actually over in the state of Nevada. You need to be storing all the records in the state of Utah. And that's, again, for like legal jurisdictional purposes. I'm sure we've all seen movies where someone will go in and they'll like raid a big corporation and tell everyone to step away from their computers, and then they seize the computers. Well, that's literally about where do they have the jurisdiction to go in and seize your business records if they ever need to see what's going on. So that's why you can't use a post office box on these business address and locations. Then defining the ownership and the management. We already sort of said it was a member managed LLC. Again, member managed being the owners are the ones doing the day-to-day activities and running the business, rather than hiring an employee to run the business as a manager. And how does that ownership break down? There might be owners who have more percentage ownership than others. If it's a single member LLC, then of course you're going to have 100% ownership, but you might not have 100% ownership. You might have, small partners, and in which case, as LLCs, you have to list out all those partners. So even if you have an equity investor who comes in as that partner, you're going to have to list them down in their ownership, but maybe they only have a 10% ownership stake in your company. And they came in with the liquidity into your company for that equity position. And then existing account information for this business. This is really asking, again, because of this one-stop shop online business registration that Utah does, that is really, really, in some sense, nice for business owners, because in Arizona, for instance, or in the state of Utah or in Nevada, you're going to have to go register with all of these different websites. So you've got to go to the Arizona Department of Revenue, sign up for a website or sign up for an account, a password, and all that stuff that you have to do as well at different websites. So they've made it really easy for businesses by integrating all of their platforms together for the state. I would imagine it also makes really good for compliance as well, because if you're registering a business, they're going to ensure then that they're probably going to start expecting to see business revenue coming from you, or you reporting that on your income taxes as well. If you are a single member LLC with that pass-through taxation, depending on what the taxation rules are in Utah around income tax. So that's going to be here in this defining or existing account information. Then it's going to have you electronically sign it. And that is literally you typing in your name, and you need to make sure however you sign your name. So if you sign your name, John L. Smith, then when you define your ownership and management up here, you need to make sure you put an L in this defined ownership, because however the name is spelled out here in the management is how you will want to sign it here in the electronic signatures. And from there, it's going to ask you if you want to use the state's articles of incorporation. So everything will default to the state's UCC and the state's sort of articles, or do you want to upload your own articles of incorporation? Or in some case, it could be articles of organization if you're doing an LLC versus articles of incorporation for a corporation. And it depending again on how you structure your business, if you're just sort of defaulting, then you can just use the state's LLC articles. It's not going to be very detailed. Or if you are really spelling out things like separate ownership and control, so you want to potentially have members that have an ownership stake because they brought in money, but you don't want to have any control, then you're going to want to file your own articles of incorporation or organization. And that's because you're going to define out things that aren't going to be defined out in the state. Because if you used, for instance, the state's default articles, then what will happen is if you had 4 members, everybody's going to be 25% ownership and everybody's going to have 1 vote, and it's all going to be equal in that. Versus if you define your own articles, maybe you have 4 members, but 3 members are the controlling vote and the other one's just a silent partner or something like that. And you can spell that out yourself within your own articles and your own bylaws as well, how the membership gets stacked. Also, FYI for nonprofits, a lot of people will do this when they're starting nonprofits. And I know most of us aren't here to talk about that, but since people end up talking about nonprofits, I'm going to spell that out. Please don't ever use these create articles from the state, because the articles, when it comes to nonprofits, don't spell out certain things that need to be spelled out in order to actually get the tax exemption for 501c3s. So really don't use these articles. You'll have to go back and amend them, and they don't it's essentially a dissolution clause that needs to be in there, and none of them include the dissolution clauses. So it really requires an attorney to help you go back and include it to amend your articles of incorporation. So that's pretty much the steps. As you were saying, Karen, we'd already gone through like most of the more difficult questions that would get asked and might throw a business owner for a loop of like, why are they asking me this? Or just even the language itself being a little bit intimidating to be like, I don't know, that's so many questions. So that's kind of it.
All right. Yeah, I don't have any questions, Tara. I think it's pretty much straightforward. I think this was a good outline for our dream builders to go through and follow your steps on this video on how to register their business with Utah. It seems a little bit more easier than Arizona and Nevada. Is that your take on it as well, Tara?
No, actually, I guess I would say it's harder. My take is actually it's harder. And maybe it's because like we got right to that point, Saria, and thank you, love. Everybody is recording. Thank you. Anyways, in Arizona, if we were to run through it, we would never get to a point where it asks us to pay without finishing the filing. And
Okay.
so when you go through and it says, oh, is this name available? What it'll do is say, oh, the name's available. Great. And then it almost like expects that you're going to keep filling out the paperwork.
Right.
And then you pay for it all at once. Utah is smart in the sense that they're driving up revenue, right? Because in order to even finish, now you've paid for a name reservation, which you maybe didn't need. It's not like someone else is going to file tonight. The Dream Builder Surfers, right? It wasn't something that was going to like be gone in that sense. So I think it's cost more in the state of Utah from the way it looks in the way that you have to pay as you go rather than getting through that process. And easier, yes, because all of the registrations are now done, but definitely more tedious in that process as well, because now you've got to deal with all of that at once. Whereas in Arizona or Nevada, it's literally just file for the business, but then go deal with all that other stuff later. So I guess it just depends on which time you're going to deal with the difficult stuff.
Okay. And then like one other thing I wanted to point out is a statutory agent that in Utah, you said you can be your own statutory agent. So if I'm the owner of the business, Cerila Gailliard, and I come to that question, I can be the statutory agent, Cerila Gailliard.
First off, is that how you pronounce your name? Sorry.
Ah,
I really thought it was Gerard or something like that. So I feel really bad. It's Gaylord.
yeah, actually it's French. It's actually pronounced Gailliard.
Gailliard. Okay.
Yeah, in New York, we call it Gaylord. So there you go. I blame my parents. I'm sorry. They did it to me.
No worries. I just feel really bad that I've totally been butchering your name. I apologize.
I understand. Look, we got the same name. We're going to blame our parents for this. Okay. It's all
Right. Nice. Yeah. So back to your question though. Yes, you could register Cerila Gailliard as the registered agent in Utah. It might say either registered agent or statutory agent, had we seen that language, but registered agent. And then essentially your information is what's going to be publicly available to people regarding where they can find you if they need to serve notice on the organization for whatever purpose, whether or not they want to send you a flyer in the mail because, hey, you need to have your employee rights posters up and we want to sell you the poster. Or if something happens with an organization and they're going to get sued by somebody and you have to have that notice served on them that something's occurring in a court case someplace, then the statutory or registered agent is the person who receives that. So that information does become public. And in Nevada, they require, I'm fairly sure, that you pay for a statutory agent to be done. But in Utah and in Arizona, you can be your own statutory agent. It's just about the privacy. Again, do you want your information shared publicly or do you want to have somebody else who does that? And then they don't know, where your own personal home address might be. Versus having somebody else who would put their information there.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Karen, do you have any questions for Tadha?
Other than this was a really great, thank you so much, Tadha, for putting this together. And it's funny because I look at, we've helped some clients in Utah before and the cost really is really inexpensive, just like Arizona, but the process is so different. And, just a different process. But at the end of the day, bottom line, all the dream builder surfer ladies, we're all going to do what we got to do in order to start our business. So this was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you, ladies, for letting me walk through it. I know we're wrapping up a little under the time we had expected. I'd hoped we would have more people to ask questions, but we can always do it again. And hopefully more questions will pop up after people watch it, or hopefully we've explained it so well that you have no more questions. You're ready to go file and have your credit card ready so that you can get through the process and pay for it as you go in registering those names.
All right. So thanks again, Tadha, for this wonderful webinar. I just want to let everybody know tomorrow, which is Wednesday, Tadha will be taking us again through how to register your business, but this time in Arizona. So she will be taking us through that. And then next Tuesday, which is next week, we'll go through how to register your business in Nevada. So all of these webinars are being recorded. So you don't have to be here, but we recommend that you be here to go step by step. But again, you will be able to refer back to these recordings if you want to do it at a later date. But thank you again, Tadha. We will see you tomorrow night.
Great, thank you. And please be prepared, ladies, to be my pseudo business if we end up in the same situation.
Yes, the dream
Okay.
builders, surfers in Arizona. Yes.
Woohoo, right? Okay, well, thank you all, ladies. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye for now. Good night.